Welcome to the Hope Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Kristin Kurtz, and I'm also the founder of New Wings Coaching. I help and empower wild-hearted and adventurous women of faith feeling caged and stuck unlock their true purpose and potential, break free from limitations, and thrive with confidence, courage, and hope. If you're curious to learn more about coaching with me, head to newwingscoaching.net and be sure to explore the show notes for ways to connect with me further. Get ready to dive in as we uncover empowering keys and insights in this episode. So tune in and let's unlock hope together. Welcome to the Hope Unlocked podcast. I'm Kristin Kurtz, your host. I pray this episode is like a holy IV of hope for your soul. Please help me welcome Tony Stoltzfus to the show. I am very excited to have him here today. When I saw a request come through to have him on the show, I was actually like, wait a second, I know him. And it took me a moment. So this is kind of a full circle experience for me today. During coaching school, I was recommended a book, and he actually wrote this book called Coaching Questions, a Coach's Guide to Powerful Asking Skills. And it actually was really instrumental in part of my walk in coaching and all that goodness. So, Tony, thank you so much for everything that you've done in your life. And I would love for you to just share a little bit about yourself before we get into your story and what you're led to share here today.
Okay. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah.
I'm Tony Stoltzfus. I'm 65 this year, so
You are
sliding into
not.
retirement.
Wow.
I was in Israel last year about this time, and
Mhm.
God spoke to me one day and said, next week is your 64th birthday, and I want you to retire. And I was like, but what does that mean?
Right. Yeah, I was just going to ask, what does that mean?
Yeah, when you've been a self-employed author for 25 years,
Hmm.
um, there's no hard stop like a lot of people
Right.
have.
Right.
So I've just been trying to figure it out. How
Mm.
much do I work? Am I resting enough? Finally, God said, Tony, retirement is whatever you want it to be. And that helped me
Oh,
relax.
that's beautiful.
So I'm working some at a slower pace, trying to
Hmm.
to work at the speed of retirement.
The speed of retirement.
All my coaching now is free,
Oh,
um,
wow.
which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
My latest book, we got some people together and purchased 2,000 copies to give away.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing.
yeah, the book is called Heaven Experience the Extraordinary,
Oh, wow.
but it's an immersion in heaven. So I'm hoping
Hmm.
that we can get copies to people who are grieving. There's a
Oh,
bunch of copies have gone into the California prison system.
wow.
Um, but
It's
if you read the
wonderful.
book and you like it, there's a forum on the website and you can just sign up and we'll send you copies to give away for free.
Really?
Yeah, because we
That
want
is
to,
so beautiful.
instead of giving to whatever rando we meet on the internet,
Yeah.
um, for people to actually benefit from the book,
Hmm.
it's much more likely they'll read it if a friend that they trust is the one that's giving it to them.
Oh man, that
So
is so
that's the
beautiful.
strategy.
Have you had a lot of people fill out that form since they've received their book?
We've had, how do I say, the book has gone slow so far. I
Hmm.
mean, we've given away about a quarter of we published it last fall, so we've given
Okay.
away about a quarter of our stash.
Oh wow, that's
But
amazing.
things like this can take a while to
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
get going.
Well, tell us the name of the book again, and then where is it available? Anywhere?
It's called Heaven Experience the Extraordinary. It's on Amazon, Kindle, you
Hmm.
know, um, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I have my own bookstore at meta-formation.com,
Okay.
with a
Awesome.
whole bunch of other, yeah, back to a little bit of bio. So I was
Yeah.
a coached and trained coaches for 25 years. I
Hmm.
started multiple coaching organizations. Leadership Meta Formation is the main one that's ongoing. I
Okay.
also had a hand in launching an organization called Coaching Mission that provides coaching to missionaries on the field in Asia.
Oh
So
wow.
they've provided like 100,000 hours of coaching to
Oh my gosh.
missionaries. Um, so before that, I ran an internship program in the mountains of Virginia. Before that, I
Mhm.
was a furniture designer.
Okay.
So
It's furniture
that's
designer to okay, to coaching. How did you get led to coaching?
okay. Well,
People, maybe you could even just talk a little bit first about that, but then explain to people
okay.
what coaching is. As a coach, I'm a coach. I know what coaching is, but I think there's a lot of coaching out there, but I don't know that people actually know what coaching is. And you've been
Yeah.
doing this a long time.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of people put coach on their title because it's a
Yes,
buzzword, but
it is.
it's coaching is helping people grow without telling them what to do. And
Mhm.
there's a whole methodology and strategies and tools and whatever that go with it. So you can call yourself a quote unquote counselor in a
Mhm.
colloquial sense if you never went through a program to become one.
Mhm.
But we all know the difference between a professional counselor and the counselor at your church, the lay
Mhm.
counselor. They're professional coaches who've gone through a certification program. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's the difference. But when I'm
Yeah.
coaching,
Mhm.
the person sets the agenda, they decide what they want to talk about, and
Mhm.
it's my job to help them think farther, to
Mhm.
process it in ways they can't on their own, and
Mhm.
then they set a series of action steps that they're going to do, and I help them be definite about that and get those
Mhm.
accomplished.
Yes.
So the difference between coaching and mentoring is a senior person imparting wisdom, insight,
Mhm.
connections, whatever, to a
Mhm.
junior person. Coaching is a peer relationship where I'm
Yeah.
helping you do the thinking yourself.
Yes. Yes. That's so good. What a great explanation. So, how did you get into coaching? Because coaching, I mean, how long has coaching technically been around?
Well, I got
Like
into
ICF.
it. Yeah, I got into it pretty close to the start of the Christian side.
Hmm.
It had been going on for, I mean, it started in the sports world and then
Hmm.
ported over to the business world. But
Hmm.
um, I started around 99, 2000. Actually, furniture design was where I learned to coach.
Tell us more
Um,
about that. Do you see how I'm using
yes.
it? Tell us more.
So I was, young and full of faith and full of the Holy Spirit and full of myself in
Hmm.
my 20s. And
Yeah.
I got this job at a furniture company. And it was I was working part time. And so I could fit all my ministry activities around it. But
Yeah.
as I got married and had kids and it became full time,
Hmm.
I started like, this is not what I want to do with my life, is design furniture for rich people who don't really need it. Um, so I started asking God to, take me out of this into the thing that you have prepared for me. And every
Yeah.
year I'd pray this, and every year he said no.
Oh.
But my job was people would come in and they had a dream of,
Mm.
I want something to fill this space in my home. And they'd
Hmm.
have a dream about maybe what it would look like or what it would do, but they didn't have the technical language to flesh out their dream, or
Sure.
they didn't know Chip and Dale from Queen Anne from whatever.
Right.
And so my job was to ask them questions and draw out of them what their dream was and put it on
Mm.
paper. And
Wow.
so that was a really great training for learning
Hmm.
how to coach.
Yes.
Um, so I did that for 15 years, and then we moved across the country to be mentored by this guy. My wife was going to work for him, and I was going to
Hmm.
travel with him. He was a church consultant.
Hmm.
And I started running this internship program where people would come for 8 months and live. We were at a retreat center,
Okay.
and we did inner healing and destiny discovery and spiritual disciplines and, every kind of
Yeah.
basic Christian work that you could do with people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in the course of that, I ran into a guy from a seminary who wanted to start a coaching program, and he
Okay.
recruited me to create and run the program.
Hmm.
So I sort of started with a bunch of basic propositions about what coaching was and created
Okay.
a training program
Wow.
because I think there were only one or two others in existence at that time.
Okay.
Um,
It's incredible. So I just want to like stop for a moment. You did furniture design. Now, prior to that, were you writing curriculum? You know, were you a writer? Were you an author?
Prior
Like, were
to
you
that, I was in college.
okay? So did you know that this was like even in you? Did somebody draw this out of you? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I, when I was in college and after, I was in a band and wrote music, and
Okay.
that was my initial writing experience. I'm not any kind of a great musician, um, but what has remained after that was writing music was a way to write that connected with people's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
um, and performing it connected with them too. And so that idea of writing things that connect with the emotional self has
Mm.
sort of run through everything that I do.
Okay.
But I didn't write my first book until 2006 when I
Wow.
was 45.
Okay.
Um, because I can remember talking to somebody probably in my 30s and saying, I want to be a writer, but I don't feel like I have anything to write about yet.
Oh my gosh.
I
So
mean,
you,
not
it
that
was
I
in
knew
you.
nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but I had this idea that there should be I should incarnate something before I write about it, as opposed to just picking a
Mm.
topic. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Would you speak a little bit more to that? Maybe somebody is listening today, and I've had clients even or people I've talked to, and it seems like a lot of I like to call it, people are like pregnant with book babies. They have babies, they have book babies, but they just don't know what to do. They don't think they're good enough. They don't think they can write. Did you have some of those limiting beliefs come through as well? Ever hear something on this show that stirs something deep, like a nudge from God that there's more? That's stirring. It's not random. I'm Kristin Kurtz, host of Hope Unlocked and the founder of New Wings Coaching, and I'm inviting you into a 45-minute unlocking session, a sacred space to press in, hear what heaven is saying, and activate your next bold step. If you're a trailblazer or kingdom voice ready to break free from doubt and live fully alive, this is for you. Book now at newwingscoaching.net/hope unlocked for special listener pricing. You were born to live uncaged and unapologetically bold. Now back to the show.
Mildly. I mean, I had been a designer for 15 years, so I was very
Mm.
used to creating something and getting immediate feedback. They bought it or they didn't buy it.
Sure.
I had written a fair amount of advertising copy and things like that too. So,
Hmm.
I didn't find it hard to write. I think my advice to writers would be, first off, live a life worth writing about.
Mm.
Not that you're going to
That's
write
good.
your autobiography, but anybody can dig wells in Africa. What's the difference when a Christian does it versus a
Mm.
someone who's not? And
Yeah.
I think there's an incarnation that comes out through what you do
Mm.
that, and that's what impacts people. So when
Hmm.
I talk about suffering, for instance, it's
Hmm.
all rooted in my own suffering and my own experiences of meeting God there and being transformed. And so there's
Yeah.
power there and authority there to speak because I've been through it. So
Hmm.
if you want to write things that impact people, that make a difference in their lives, you
Hmm.
have to embody that thing.
Hmm.
Um, and you can just write stories and people can have fun with them, if you want to write
Yeah.
novels. But if you want to write stuff that changes people, you
Hmm.
have to be changed first.
Mm.
Um,
Yes, that's good.
there's tons of resources out there about
Yeah.
overcoming writer's block and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
that's my
That's really that's a
piece.
huge
Sorry, go
briefly
ahead.
about the suffering that you'd walk through. One of the things that I feel like this podcast has it's been a place for people to share, some of the fires that they've walked through, some of that suffering and then coming out on the other side with keys for other people, right? Would you be open maybe to sharing, something
Sure.
that you've walked through that you came out and you're like, okay, I call it kind of being like a pit puller. So you
Hmm.
might have been in the pit for a little bit and then you're able to go back and speak to that person because of what you've walked
Right.
through.
Okay. Yeah, I've had all kinds of house burned down, mental health challenges in our
Oh my God.
family, undiagnosed chronic low-level depression for 15 years, betrayal by my ministry partner.
Oh,
I'll start with an early one.
okay.
Uh, so in my 20s, I'm in this church where we're growing and doing amazing things, and most of the
Mhm.
people there were young. And one of my consistent prayers was for grace, to understand grace, because
Mm.
I was kind of a what do you call it, Christian jerk. Um, I
Now
had
you got to
my
tell us, what is a Christian jerk?
I had my yearly goals, my monthly goals, my Bible study plan, and my hour of power. And I prayed with
Yeah,
somebody else for an hour 3 times a
yeah,
week, and I
yeah.
fasted twice a week. And
Mhm.
if you weren't doing all these things, you weren't a serious Christian, and God couldn't
Okay,
use you.
yep. You don't measure up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And so there was this moment when it was like God turned off the spigot, and
Mhm.
the energy that drove all those things was no longer there. And I
Wow.
just couldn't do it. I'd sit down to pray and I'd get so frustrated that, in 5 minutes I'd leave because
Wow.
I just, yeah, I developed a lot of guilt and
Oh,
whatever and
yeah.
negative stuff.
Mhm.
And this went on for a year or two.
Mhm.
And just, my church around me is growing and people are getting saved and they're doing great things. And I'm
Yeah.
a wreck.
Oh,
And I finally got to the point where I was just like, I felt like I was hanging onto a grease rope in the dark and I'm sliding down and down. And
oh,
finally I
wow.
get to the knot at the bottom. And
That is a visual.
if I let go of the knot,
Mhm.
I can't see a thing below me. What's going to happen?
Oh, wow.
And the knot was trying, what holds me together is trying to do what I think the Christian life means. And if I stop
Mhm.
trying,
Mhm.
what will become of me?
Wow.
And I finally just said, God, I can't live the Christian life. I can't do this.
Mm.
Um, I'm going to be like one of those people who gets to heaven with the clothes burned off their back, smelling of smoke.
Oh,
So if you can do anything with my life, you do it, but I'm done.
wow.
And I let go of the knot.
Yeah.
And then God started speaking to me that he loved me.
Oh my
And I
God.
hadn't heard him speak to me for a while. But for the
Mm.
first 6 weeks, I
Yeah.
rebuked that voice. That was
Oh,
not God.
yeah. Right. Right. Oh my goodness.
God couldn't love me in this state of giving up.
Right. Yeah.
Um, until it finally started to penetrate my thick skull that God loved me because he loved me.
Yes.
And later I realized, grace is unmerited favor. So if you
Hmm.
want to learn grace, first you have to lose your merit.
There's your key.
So that insight helped me. I understood
Hmm.
what God was doing in the midst of the difficulty.
Hmm.
And that was sort of the key. I think I have grown much more in life, not
Hmm.
from devotions, but from meeting God in the difficulties of everyday life and being transformed. That's been the biggest source of growth in my life.
Could you say that
Um,
again? I think that's worthy of repeating.
yeah, my growth has not been so much from spiritual disciplines as it's been from things happen. And I'm very attentive to, okay, God, what are you doing in this? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? What part of me does this touch? How do you want to change me? And I've
Mm-hmm.
developed this process that I call leaning in, where what happens to us most of the time is God starts a process in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Change is hard, And
Hmm.
so often that process involves making it painful to stay where I am.
Yes, it seems to be, doesn't it?
Yes. And so God works on us for a year or two or 10 to
Hmm.
bring us to the place where we realize that we have a problem and we're willing
Hmm.
to change. But what
Hmm.
we do at that point, God has done everything by himself with no help from us up to that point. And the moment where we figure out what the change
Hmm.
agenda is supposed to be, we say, okay, God, I got it. See ya.
Yeah.
And we try to fix it ourselves.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so realizing it's changed the way I pray, for
Hmm.
instance. So I
Hmm.
come to one of those points and I'm like, okay, Jesus, I do not have the power to change this.
Yeah.
So do in me the things that I can't do for myself.
Hmm.
Or I'll pray dangerous prayers like, God, send me the circumstances that I need to get this.
Oh, Tony.
And most Christians panic when they hear that
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
because we
But
expect that
mm,
if we let God be in charge of our circumstances, he's going to hurt us.
yeah.
That's lodged deep in our hearts.
Hmm.
Um, but God is really good to me when I pray that prayer.
Mm.
And so, like a recent
Can you
one,
give us an example? Yeah, are you going
sure.
there? Yeah,
Yeah.
we just helping somebody to see kind of this progression.
God can be trusted with your heart.
Yeah.
And you can say to him, okay, Jesus, send me the circumstances I need, but I'm scared. So could you give
Mm.
me an easy one for starters?
Yeah, like
I
level
mean,
1 out of 10.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
gentle and
start
kind and
there.
his yoke is easy. So a
Hmm.
good example was I went through this season where this is not that long ago. Our son was really depressed and yet not in a good place. My wife was starting to show bipolar symptoms, which kicked off a whole several year season of that.
Oh,
I had just had the conversation with my daughter where your child tells you everything that you did wrong
oh my gosh. Oh.
and so that happens in Indiana and I fly back
Mhm.
and the next day I have a mandatory evacuation notice and we got out of our house with a suitcase of dirty clothes each and our pets and our computers and then our house
Oh,
burned to the ground.
oh my gosh.
Um and I just it's so overwhelmed my coping ability. I've got
Yeah.
good coping skills after
Yeah.
years of working on this, but
Yeah.
I got to the place where I was working like a day a week because that's all I
Oh
could
my
do.
gosh. Wow.
And then we got in a new house, and our new house flooded twice. And my
Right
best friend,
after?
yes, my best friend died on the 1 year anniversary of the fire. On the way to his
Oh,
funeral, my wife's mother died. So we just went right from that funeral to the other
oh,
one. It was
oh,
just insane.
oh my gosh.
Um,
How many years ago
so,
was this?
like six.
Okay, this was right before COVID out in your area. I remember,
Yes,
I can't remember the name
yes.
of the fire.
Car fire, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hmm.
So anyway, fast forward to several years later,
Hmm.
and it took 2, 3 years to recover from that. But I realized one of the lingering effects is I just don't want to be around people. I felt
Oh.
very let down by the people around me in that.
Mm.
That I've been present for so many people, and people
Mhm.
were not largely not present for me.
Mm.
And I just, yeah.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, Jesus, I know I've got this thing where
Mhm.
I don't want to be around folks
Mm.
and I don't know what to do about it.
Mhm.
So do in me the things that I can't do for myself. Send me the
Mhm.
circumstances I need to get over this.
Wow.
And a couple months later, a good friend of ours who's actually a counselor that we worked with through some of this stuff
Mhm.
came to town and her husband had died and she was going to have a memorial service there because she had lived in Reading for a while.
Okay.
And she invited me to this service, and all my old friends that I hadn't talked to for a year or two
Mm.
We're going to be there.
Oh, wow.
And at first I was like, I don't want to go. Um, and then I realized, hang on a second. I realized maybe God was in this.
Mm.
And I said, okay, um, I will go.
Yeah.
And had some good conversations and driving up to the place was awkward, but when I got in the room, it was like, these are people I've invested in. These are people
Yeah.
that I know deeply. These are people
Mhm.
that I've walked with.
Mhm.
And it got me over that barrier in one night. And I don't know how I would have engineered that by myself.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. And
and
I don't know, it's like you can't make this stuff up, right?
yeah, and it was a beautiful thing. It wasn't like, oh, God stripped me down and taught me
Hmm.
patience and all the things that
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
fear.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Wow. That's an
yeah, my
amazing.
my philosophy of all this is God does not bring pain into your life.
Yeah.
Um, 3 weeks before the house burned down, I was outside in the yard and I said, God, could I really live without all this stuff?
Oh
Um,
gosh.
yeah, God
Yeah.
did not burn my house down to answer my
No, he
prayer.
did not.
That is
But
not who God is.
on the flip side of that, what is your answer to that
Well,
now?
I got an answer to that question really quickly. Yes, I
Hmm.
could live without all this stuff.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's inconvenient and it's frustrating
Yeah.
but it's just stuff.
Right.
Um,
Has it shifted kind of your mindset even like about like having a home and cars and all the things, right? What did he show you through that experience? I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry that you went through that. Like I literally can't even imagine.
yeah, well,
But was there a shift in you and your family walking through
the
that?
yeah, there's a big shift in me in terms of it forced me and my wife to deal with some things personally and in our relationship.
Hmm.
But the bigger outcome that took a number of years after to unfold
Hmm.
was I'll give a little backstory. So I recorded a series about Job in front of the shell of our house.
Oh, you did. Wow.
Um, but Job, I think people fundamentally misunderstand the book of Job.
Mm.
Job is a guy who loves God, but he's scared of him. He
Mm.
offers sacrifices constantly for his kids, not because they did something wrong, but just in
Mhm.
case they did something wrong.
Mm. Yeah.
And for Job, his main defense mechanism is his integrity. And
Mm.
so he's hugely protective of his integrity because that's
Mhm.
what allows him to feel right with God.
Mm.
And his wife knows what the problem is. She's like, why do you still hold fast to your integrity? Just curse God and die. And because of the curse God and die line, everybody writes her off. But
Right.
it's the exasperation of a spouse that's lived
Mm.
with this for decades. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, don't
Yeah.
you see what's happening?
Yeah. I love how you say that.
And Job is, I would rather die than lose my integrity. Well, at the end of the
Mm.
story, he does lose his integrity.
Yes.
And what he finds is that God is for him even
Mm.
when he messes up.
Yes.
And the desire of Job's heart, I think, as an
Mm.
integrity person, was peace with God, to know I'm all right outside of my
Mm.
behavior. And so
Yes.
the story of Job is God giving Job the one thing that he most longed for in life but could never attain. And
Mm.
it came through suffering. And
Mhm.
that same thing happened for me
Mm.
is, my personality type sees the problems first.
Sure.
And I can be very self-critical and guilty,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
but there's been a peace with God that's come through this that I've never had before.
Mm.
And I would, in the year or two afterward, I
Mhm.
would go to God and say, God, I know I can talk to you whenever I want, and I know that you'll talk back because he
Mhm.
does,
Yes.
but I just don't feel like talking to you right now.
Yeah.
And he would say, it's cool, trust the process.
Yeah. I love it. It's cool. Trust the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
And
needs to write that on a post-it note,
yeah.
right?
So for me to just to be okay in that place, I mean, I had to work at it at first, but
Hmm.
it's just so valuable to me to just know that me and him are good and there's nothing that can shake that.
Yes, yes.
I know that in a way that I never knew it before.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah.
That's thank you for sharing with us. And I know, listeners, we're all walking through different things, right? So I believe that your testimony and what you've walked through and how you've walked through it will translate to them. Can you just repeat again, those two questions or prompts that you go to the Lord with often?
Oh, doing me the things I can't do for myself.
Hmm.
And then if you're feeling risky, send me the circumstances I need to change
Hmm.
this. And
Okay.
for me, the faith of that comes from working with hundreds of people and
Hmm.
seeing God active in their circumstances to change
Hmm.
them and
Yeah.
being good about it. So
Hmm.
I'm not scared when I pray that prayer.
Hmm.
Um, and try it on a small thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start with a small annoyance, but faith comes by experiencing God's
Yes.
faith comes by hearing the rhema, the experiential word of God. So when you
Hmm.
experience God doing that in small things, you'll start to
Hmm.
believe for bigger things.
Absolutely. Well, it's leading me to just even kind of jump into I'm just imagining Indiana Jones right now. Do you know that scene where he has to like, he's crossing over the chasm, but there's no way to get across, but when he puts his foot out, the stone appears. Do you
Uh-huh.
have a time in your life that you've really walked that out, like literally like you feel like you're jumping off a cliff and he's like, I got you. Check out what we're gonna do to get you to the other side.
Yeah, well, a number of times. Um, when I left that first coaching place, I sort of got ejected and
Mm.
lost my network and lost access to everything I'd written to that point and
Oh, wow.
had to start over again. And so, um, God, I was trying to decide if I should get investors or raise money or whatever.
Hmm.
And I was stopped on Princess Anne Boulevard in Virginia Beach, which is a 6-lane road in front of Walmart, waiting for the light to change.
Yeah.
And God said, if you don't believe in yourself enough to invest in yourself, you'll never do what you're capable of doing.
Mm.
And I knew in that moment that we needed to take money out of our house to start
Hmm.
our business.
Mm.
So we took out 50 grand and
Mhm.
I gave myself 2 years to succeed because and if it didn't work, I wasn't qualified to do anything. I have a bachelor's degree in math.
Okay. So
Um,
you were seeing yourself as like this is plan A. There's no plan B.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
And we get all the way down to the end of the 2 years, and I have my second book ready, which is Coaching Questions, the one that you have.
Yeah, it's right
But at
here.
that time, we had to buy 500 copies.
Oh,
The print on demand thing wasn't happening yet.
right.
And so there was kind of a moment of panic because it was going to take all the rest of the money that we had.
Oh my gosh.
And, but we decided this is what God told us to do. So we're going to
Yeah.
do it. So we
Yeah.
took the rest of our money and invested it in that book. And it paid for the first printing in 6 weeks. And that book has sold something like 200,000 copies.
Stop it.
And because it's self-published, um, I make a really nice cut.
Oh my gosh.
Um, so that book has largely provided for us for 15 years.
Wow.
Um,
And is it still like, are you still seeing copies like monthly,
oh
weekly,
yeah,
daily, like even on the
yeah.
daily?
We sell what hundreds a month of that.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So you see this happen, like what's going on in your head at this point?
Well, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
It unfolds over a period of time, so it's not like,
Hmm.
oh, I gave everything and God gave us $1 million.
Right.
It didn't happen like that.
Right.
But, another moment like that was we were doing these workshops with like 30 people, and I made this audacious. I told everybody who was coming that I was going to interview them for an hour about their most painful story in life, and I was going to rewrite their story from heaven's perspective
Oh, that's
and
so
give it to them at
amazing.
the workshop.
Oh,
And I'd never done this before. So it was a
wow.
total leap of faith to say, I can rewrite your story as it looks to Jesus from heaven. And
Wow.
in the 6 weeks it took me to do those interviews and write,
Hmm.
I got in this mode where I felt like I could ask Jesus any question about heaven I could think of.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
ended up with 80 pages of notes. And the book I released this year about heaven largely
Hmm.
comes from that.
It does.
And since then, I've trained a team and we've rewritten hundreds of stories like this.
Wow.
Um, and the process is you do the interview
Hmm.
and you get some ideas about what God might be doing. And then you
Yeah.
sit down and you just start writing
Mm.
and let Jesus meet you in the process.
Yeah. So are you like you're like almost like hand journaling, you're not typing it out.
I'm typing it, yeah,
Oh, you're
but
typing.
I'm
Okay.
I'm free writing. I'm
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
you start and you write
Hmm.
um, for an hour, and then you take 15 minutes to clean it up at the end. But
Okay.
but God speaks to you in the process of you're in a place of faith of saying, I'm going to start this with the rough idea of what's going to happen, and
Mm.
God is going to meet me in it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
for instance, I remember at one point writing the story of a woman who had left her physically abusive husband,
Hmm.
and she was just ridden with guilt about God hates divorce and divorce is wrong, and um, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. And so I'm writing through this story, and I get to that last scripture,
Yeah.
and it was like Jesus spoke to me and said, what I've joined together. It says, what I've joined together, let not man put asunder. It doesn't say I can't,
Hmm. Hmm.
which was a big revelation to me. I'd never thought of that before.
Wow.
Um, but it came in the middle of the story. And I think
Mm.
God reserves the right to take a marriage where a person is being harmed and say, I dissolve this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Hmm.
I don't say that lightly. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
everybody should just go around and get divorced whenever they feel like it. But
Right. Right.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I want to capture like just a couple of things you said. These are more post-it note writings
Uh-huh.
to put on your wall. Like, God will meet me in it. And the middle of the story, I just want to share something really quick to kind of bounce off that a
Okay.
little bit with you.
Sure.
I used to call it the messy middle. And just this last year, similar to you, I was kind of rewriting my own story and from his perspective. And rather than it being called the messy middle, he was showing me it was the middle of a miracle.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, that is so much better than the messy middle, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to just like thank you for doing this for so many people. I would love to hear like when you rewrote these stories, and I like to call it flip the script, like what was the reaction of the people that you did this for? Maybe a testimonial or a couple that you were able to
Oh,
experience?
people keep them and read them over and over again. And
Mm.
yeah, um,
Wow.
I I have a book filled with these stories. It's called Heaven's Perspective,
Hmm.
but it includes, the story as they told it in the interview, the heaven story, and then there's a page of their reaction and what they got out of the heaven story.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you're interested in this kind of stuff, get Heaven's Perspective.
Okay.
Um, but like one example was this gal who um, had her first child was severely mentally disabled, and she went from
Mm.
dreams of ministry and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff to I'm in full-time care for this person for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And shortly after the child, they realized the child had problems, um, God said to her, "This is my best for you." And
Oh.
she struggled with that. How can this be your best?
Mhm.
And finally came to peace with it.
Mm.
Um, but the story that I wrote for her was, um, her. We always ask people, what's your biggest unanswered question? If Jesus walked into the room and you could ask him one
Mm.
question about this story, what would you ask?
Mhm.
And hers was, will I ever hear my child say mommy?
Oh.
Because after 20 some years at that point, she had never spoken.
Mm.
And the heaven story was, your child's physical brain
Mhm.
is not functioning correctly,
Mhm.
but her spirit is, and her spirit
Mhm.
remembers everything. And when you get to heaven, you're
Mhm.
going to be able to go back and relive every moment on earth and say all the things that could have been said and should have been said and weren't. And you're going to be able to enjoy every moment.
Oh, wow.
And this tragedy has drawn such a love out of you and such a
Mhm.
devotion that your
Mhm.
bond in heaven is going to be incredible.
Oh my gosh.
And she's in my heaven book,
Oh.
that story of the autistic child. And
Mhm.
the title of that chapter is The Great Ones,
The great ones. Oh,
because you are
beautiful.
great in heaven, not because you did great things, but because you loved greatly.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, wow. And oh my gosh. I'm like totally getting the chills here. Whew. Tony, I just want to like, if you guys are hearing his heart, you have such a, like, his heart is just pouring out of you. Like, you have such a big heart. And I know you've walked through so much. And the, just being the conduit to like almost like a fire hose of love to other people. Thank you.
yeah, this is what I mean by live a life worth writing about.
Yeah, it's this. Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, tell us a little bit about your new book. How did you come into writing this newest book, Heaven Experience the Extraordinary? Is that correct? Experience
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Extraordinary. Mm-hmm.
I had a dream in my 20s where I went to heaven. Short dream.
Okay.
I'm walking down the hall of my elementary school
Mm-hmm.
in my dream, and all of a sudden the hall comes to an end. And
Oh.
there's this cliff, and down below me is heaven.
Oh.
And I'm like, can I jump off? So I picked up a stone and I tossed it over the edge to see what would happen, and it turned into a butterfly and flew away.
Really?
So I jumped off the edge and I just floated down, and at the bottom was this huge, endless green lawn going
Hmm.
off into the distance, and there was one oak tree, big oak, and underneath it
Mm-hmm.
was a picnic table.
Wow.
And there were a group of guys just chatting there.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and they welcomed me. And the thing about the dream that was so compelling was the sense of timelessness. It was like I had nowhere I needed to be. There was nothing I needed to do.
Yeah.
I could sit there for 100 years and nothing would be lost or wasted. I had all the time, literally all the time in the world. And
Mm.
I ended up writing a song about that, which helped me to
Oh, you
remember the
did?
dream.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but ever since then, one of the thoughts I had after that was I'd like to make a movie about heaven.
Mm.
Because if people could just experience heaven for 90 minutes, they'd give
Mm-hmm.
anything to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so this book is sort of the culmination of that.
Okay.
Over the years, I've done a lot of thinking about heaven. Every workshop we do had a heaven room in it where
Mm-hmm.
it was sort of our heaven simulator where we had actors and staging and lighting and
Oh,
original
cool.
music and for people to experience heaven.
Wow.
And so this book is not, the entire book takes place in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
The protagonist is a female physicist who's
Okay.
lost both of her parents in
Oh,
childhood.
okay.
And what I want is for people to get so immersed in what it's like to live in heaven that it becomes
Mhm.
real to them.
Mm.
So she, in heaven, on earth,
Mhm.
the physical laws are absolute and the moral laws are optional.
Mhm.
So I have to obey gravity. I have no choice, but
Right.
I don't have to love people. I can be a jerk.
Sure.
In heaven, it's the opposite. The
Mm.
moral laws are absolute. There's no choices that you can make in heaven that are wrong. It's
Wow.
physically impossible to
Mhm.
hate someone or to diss someone or to,
Okay.
the laws of that universe don't allow it to happen. But
Mhm.
the physical laws are optional, so you can
Mm.
fly.
That would
Um,
be amazing.
yes, you can just rise off the ground. There's a skydiving scene in the book where
Oh my
she
God.
just goes up to 3,000 feet and drops.
And,
And then right before she gets to the ground, Jesus catches her.
oh my
Um,
gosh. I need to read your book.
yeah. So,
And I'm seeing the movie playing out as you're talking.
yeah, yeah. In heaven, when John describes heaven in Revelation,
Mhm.
he's clearly describing something he doesn't have words for because he keeps
Mm.
saying it was like this and it was like
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
But one of the key characteristics of the heaven he describes is
Mhm.
everything is bright and transparent. So
Mm.
the streets of the city are pure gold, transparent as glass, the shining crystal sea, the water of the river of life, bright and pure.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think in heaven, there's this great reversal. On
Mhm.
earth, when you meet someone, you see the color of their hair and their skin and what they're
Yeah.
wearing. You
Yeah.
see the externals,
Yes.
but the only way you can get to know the inner person is through the physical. They
Hmm.
have to talk or act or something like that, but you
Yeah.
can't touch their heart.
Right.
In heaven, the physical is transparent to your heart. So who you
Wow.
are literally shines out through the transparent shell of your body. So when you meet someone in heaven, you
Mhm.
immediately know them. You know their
Mm.
story. You feel
Mm.
their emotions. There's not this communication barrier
Mhm.
between you and the person. And it's the same with God. On earth, he's hidden, and there's
Mhm.
this communication barrier. But in
Mhm.
heaven, the barrier is removed.
Wow.
So in heaven, if you want to talk to Jesus, you just say, "Hey, Jesus," like you would say, "Hey, Siri," and he
Mhm.
shows up.
Hey, I love that. I
Um,
think we need to rename Siri and we could just
yeah,
try to
yeah.
bypass.
And
Wow.
heaven is in a different,
Hmm.
heaven has more dimensions than earth, I believe.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
heaven's time system is different than earth.
Hmm.
And we only have one time dimension, so we can only be in one place at a time, and we
Yeah.
only get one moment after another.
Hmm.
If you have two time dimensions, you have an infinite number of moments inside of each moment, which
Hmm.
is how omnipresence works.
Hmm.
Um, God has time to listen to every prayer individually at the same time because he has an infinite number of moments inside each moment to pay
Hmm.
attention to us.
Hmm.
So there's no line in heaven to get to talk to Jesus.
Yeah.
You don't get an hour with him and then have to wait a billion years until you get your next
Right.
hour.
Yeah.
Um, because he has an infinite number of moments in each moment to
Mm.
share with everyone.
It's kind of mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's so beyond like, it makes me think of like Ephesians 3:20, like beyond. It's above and beyond in essence.
Mhm.
More than you can ask or imagine. Like you can't even like I'm
Right.
trying to imagine this and I can see it, but I can't like I want it now,
Yeah.
please. Thank you. Um, can you just share a little bit? Because I was literally just, in that verse about seated in heavenly places this
Hmm.
morning. And could you, I don't know if you'd be led to go there, but like, how does that translate to our reality here as we're here? When you
Yeah.
hear that verse, somebody, might be like, hmm. I just am always wondering.
Right.
Would you
So,
speak to that a little bit?
yeah. So when you die, you pass out of the time system of Earth into the time system of heaven. You go from temporal reality bound by the arrow of time into the timeless.
Hmm.
I think it's easiest to visualize heaven as an eternal now.
Hmm.
Um, Everything happens in the now, and there's no
Hmm.
past and there's no future. Although, yeah, anyway.
Hmm.
So the seated in the heavenly places thing, from Earth's perspective, your death and resurrection and meeting with Jesus are still off in the future.
Hmm.
But from Jesus's perspective in heaven, in the eternal now, you are already seated with him, with Christ.
Hmm.
And so you pray to Jesus and you say, "Oh, Jesus, I'm so bad. I'm sorry I did this. How can you still love me?" And Jesus is up in heaven and he looks to his right, and there you are sitting right next to him, glorified.
Hmm.
Um, because in heaven's time, it's already happened.
Hmm.
And he says, "What are you talking about? You're right here with me, and you don't look like that at all."
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So I think you understand a verse like that through the filter of two time systems, like
Hmm.
free will and predestination.
Hmm.
We have free will on earth. If you look from
Hmm.
earth's perspective, we get to choose. From
Yes.
heaven's perspective, in the eternal now, the choice has been made and consummated, and you're here.
Hmm.
So, from heaven's
Hmm.
perspective, you can say that we were predestined.
Hmm.
So, the paradox is resolved by the two different time systems and where your point of view is from.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's so good. I loved, again, you're bringing visuals to me. So, as you're talking, it's beautiful. When is this movie coming out in relation to the book?
I have
Because
no
I
idea.
just want to say, Tony, I say this to my clients in their 60s. The world says it's time to retire, but I just say it's time to refire. So what might that look like for you? I know like the Lord called you to retire, so of course we but it looks different, right? It looks different than maybe like a corporate
Yeah,
environment would tell you, okay, you're done. See you later.
right.
Um, yeah, when is this movie coming out? I'm on the edge of my seat, quite literally.
I have no idea. I have no power to make that happen.
Yeah.
As far as the retirement thing, for me, I was on in Maui. Our son lives there, and I'm walking on Thompson Road, which is where Oprah has a house.
Hmm.
Gorgeous view, down
Oh,
over
I
the
bet.
island from about 3,000 feet up, and the
Hmm.
sea, and the
Ooh, nice.
and God spoke to me and said, "You've been living for significance, and there's a whole nother life you can have if you're
Mm.
willing to try."
Mm.
And it was an invitation, and I was like, "Okay, I have no idea what you mean."
Yeah.
But what God has been unfolding for me over the last couple years is
Mhm. Mm.
I was a very goal-oriented person, still am,
Okay. Yeah.
but there's a lot of things in life I sacrificed to be significant.
Mm.
And so, for instance, a year or so ago, one day I realized I'm taking my daily walk and I'm
Hmm.
going up and down a concrete sidewalk next to a busy road.
Yeah.
Because I can walk 2 minutes out my door and be on this road, and there's a nice hill there, and I can get my workout and take the
Yeah.
minimum amount of time
Yeah.
away from my significant productive things to do my
Hmm.
exercise.
Hmm.
And I just thought 5 minutes down the road is a beautiful walk in nature,
Oh.
but I never go there
Oh,
because that
wow.
extra 2 minutes each way.
Sure.
And so
Mm.
I've sacrificed beauty and
Mm.
joy for significance. And
Wow.
what God is saying to me is, no, we're going to put those things back.
Oh.
So I'm finding all these different ways that I've, like another part of this journey is I spent
Hmm.
3 years full time working on this How to Read the Bible Like a Human Being book about visualizing scenes in the New Testament.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, God said, from here on, your job is just to write it and leave the promotion to others. And I'm like, great. I hate the promotional part anyway.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. I
the
love
whole
that too.
time I'm writing for 3 years, I'm thinking God is going to drop some great promotional plan on me.
Hmm.
And I get right to the end of the process and I still have nothing.
Yeah.
And then God says, I don't want you to promote this. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I just spent 3 years of my life on this.
Mm,
And I don't know if I've sold more than 100 copies of that book,
okay.
because I haven't promoted it.
Mm,
Um, it's great material. I have Bible studies that have been going on for like 5 years with the same people.
really?
And
Well,
we're 2/3 of the way through Mark.
well, you guys listening in today, remind us of the name of the book, this other
uh,
book that you're talking
how to
about
read
just
the
now.
Bible like a human being. There's a website
Yeah,
like
tell
a
us about
human.
that. Like, I love
Yeah,
the title.
the website's likeahumanbeing.com. And if you want to join a Bible study, you can just go there and shoot me a email and I'll get you hooked up because they're free.
Okay. Okay. And are
Um,
you leading these Bible
yeah,
studies or is it other
yeah.
people as well? Okay.
Other people are doing them, but I'm leading the online ones.
Yeah.
Um, so
Cool.
yeah,
How did that book come to be? You spent 3 years. Like, tell us a little bit about just even stepping into that space and where that idea came from.
yeah. Well, it was in the years I was recovering from the fire and everything.
Okay.
It was great to be able to just go out to the porch and spend 4 or 5 hours
Hmm.
researching and letting it take me wherever it took me.
Yeah.
I've built two bookcases to contain the books that I bought for this project.
Oh, you
Spent
did? Really?
spent 4 months in Israel. Um, but where it came from is my career in coaching is focused on the emotional brain because I
Hmm.
realized if it's just, you want to get the garage cleaned up. If it's just a
Hmm.
practical matter of making the decision and doing it, people would have done it already. If
For
they
sure.
come to me as a coach, it's because something is stopping them,
Hmm.
a hurt or a belief or whatever. So the problem is always in the emotional brain. It's not in the
Hmm.
rational brain. It's very rare that anyone comes to me and they just need a plan.
Hmm.
Almost always it's, yeah, something on their emotional side. So
Hmm.
for the last 25 years, I've focused on that emotional brain side. And
Hmm.
at one point, I realized we read scripture with our heads. We read it to know what to believe and how to behave.
Hmm.
We don't read it to visualize it. So most people cannot
Hmm.
picture the scenes in the Bible in any detail. Um,
That fascinates me.
yeah. And because we can't picture it, your emotional brain speaks the language of image and experience. So
Hmm.
it doesn't touch our emotional brain.
Hmm.
So here's a for instance. If we got time for me to give you a story.
Absolutely. Please share.
So the woman with the flow of blood.
Hmm.
So most people, when I ask them how they picture that, it's just she's out on a road somewhere. She's in a field. There's nothing. The background is blank.
Hmm.
There's no concept of where this happened or what's going on. But after researching, here's what I think it looks like.
Okay.
So this poor woman, she's bleeding constantly. So she's anemic, she's weak, she's unclean, and uncleanness is not sin. What it meant in that culture was unfit to live in community. You
Mm.
violated the community rule. So she would have been banished from the community. So
Mhm.
she's living in a cave. She's living with other unclean people. She's not welcome in the synagogue. She's not welcome in the market. She's
Mhm.
not supposed to touch anybody. So after 12 years of isolation, she
Yeah.
probably has mental issues.
I mean, you can only imagine,
Yeah,
right?
she's weak, she's thin, she's dirty. So that day, Jesus arrives on the waterfront in Capernaum.
Hmm.
He's come across from the other side of the sea, and a crowd gathers. And the ruler of the synagogue comes and says, "Come and heal my daughter." Well, I
Mhm.
think the ruler of the synagogue is the ruler of the Capernaum synagogue because there's no time to
Mhm.
run 3 miles to the nearest city and bring him back, and then for Jesus to walk all the way to that city.
Right.
So it's almost certainly the ruler of the Capernaum synagogue. And that means the whole story happens in Capernaum.
Mhm.
It also means Jairus knows Jesus.
Mhm.
Jesus casts a demon out of a crazy man in his synagogue.
Mhm.
Um, so these two guys have some kind of a relationship. So Jairus comes and says, "Heal my daughter." They
Mhm.
set off. They've got a crowd in tow of people who want to see the spectacle. And they're heading down. The streets in Capernaum are like 6 or 8 feet wide.
Okay.
And
Very narrow.
yes, and there's no yards in a first century village. The houses come right up to the edge of that 6 or 8 foot wide street.
Mhm.
And a house is called an insulae. It's a big wall around a courtyard, and then there are
Mhm.
rooms built around the edges of it. So you've
Okay.
you've got a 6 or 8 foot wide street with 10 foot black stone walls on either side.
Sounds
So here's
very constricting.
yes. So Jesus is going down the street. Jairus is next to him. There's a crowd following. This
Mhm.
woman, I think, kind of was lying in wait and came out of
Mhm.
a corner because I don't see how she could have wormed her way up through the crowd.
Right.
But she comes behind Jesus and touches the hem of his robe. And
Mhm.
the himation, the kind of robe they had, the hem would have been, the tassel would have been in the small of your back. So
Hmm.
she's not down on the ground like all the art says. She
Really?
touches the small of his back. And the Greek word for touch here is heavy touch. So I think she got jostled and she touched Jesus harder than she wanted to because she's trying
Yeah.
to do this incognito.
Right.
She's not supposed to be there. She's not supposed to be in the
Yeah,
village. She's
exactly.
not supposed to be touching anybody.
Yes.
And she touches Jesus and she feels something. It happened. And Jesus turns around and says, "Who touched me?"
Hmm.
And what happens when a moving crowd is following, Kanye or Michael Jackson and they suddenly stop?
Right.
Well, the crowd sort of accordions up into Jesus and
Hmm.
pushes this woman up against him. So
Hmm.
Jesus is saying, "Who touched me?" And she's trapped by the
Hmm.
compressed crowd. And she
Hmm.
looks next to Jesus, and there's Jairus. And Jairus, as the Archis Synagogus, enforces the purity rules in the synagogue.
Hmm.
So this is essentially the chief of police.
Wow.
So she has just broken the law in the
Yeah.
same way that, driving in 100 in the 35 zone is breaking the law.
Right.
And Jesus discovers that someone touched him, and right next to him is the chief of police. And there's a very interesting detail in the story. Jairus's daughter is 12 years old, and the
Hmm.
woman's had the flow of blood for 12
Yes.
years.
Yes. Yeah. I
Why
always pick
did
that up.
they
I'm like, wow.
why did they include that deal? Well, if Jairus had been the ruler of the synagogue for that time, he
Hmm.
would have been the guy who pronounced her unclean and unfit to come to the synagogue.
Hmm.
So here is the guy who ruined my life
Hmm.
and represents authority next to Jesus. And the
Hmm.
woman has a panic attack. She's literally shaking,
Hmm.
fear and trembling.
Yeah.
And she falls down in front of Jesus and tells him the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus does something really interesting. First, he says to her daughter, and this is the only place in the New Testament where Jesus calls a specific person daughter.
Yes.
And here's a daughter who, if this happened when she was 13, when she was first menstruating,
Hmm.
this daughter was cast out of her home into isolation, and
Yeah.
Jesus calls her daughter.
Oh my
There's an
gosh.
emotional healing happen there.
Wow. I've never
And
thought of that before.
And Jesus says, "Your faith has made you well," which is a social healing. He's saying to the
Hmm.
gathered people of the village,
Hmm.
this person was good enough that
Yeah.
Yahweh healed her.
Hmm.
Therefore, she is clean and you should accept her back into the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a social healing and an emotional healing that goes with the physical healing.
Hmm.
And then let's So this is what happens to the woman. Now let's go back to poor Jairus. His
Right.
daughter's dying. They're on the
Mhm.
way there. Jesus stops at a 7-Eleven to chat up the clerk, you know, and
Yeah.
witness to her. And
Yeah.
Jairus is looking at his watch
It's
going,
like,
come on, come on, come on. And
sir.
this woman comes up, and it doesn't
Mhm.
say this, but that 12-year thing is really
Mhm.
significant.
So
What if
significant.
Jairus recognizes her? And
Mm.
Jesus heals her, and at that moment, they come and tell him his daughter died. And
Mm.
Jairus is thinking, oh my God, my sin
Yeah.
has come back on my own head. I
Right.
cast this girl out 12 years ago, and now
Mm.
she got healed instead of my daughter, and my daughter has
Mm.
died.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Jesus says, don't fear, come with me.
Yes.
Um, so if you don't get into the setting and who the people are and what their roles are, you miss all these nuances of the story that make it come alive.
Yes.
So how
Wow.
does that impact you?
I am buying the book today. One of the things, I don't know if you watched The Chosen, but I was so like thrilled to see it come to the
Hmm.
screen, to watch it because I am such a like I literally am we were talking about this before we got started. Like I'm literally seeing scenes play out and just even the way that you're describing things, you're pulling out so much that I've never, I feel like I'm kind of a dot connector code cracker, but you're pulling
Right.
out some pretty significant, impactful code cracking here. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, wow, you guys got to get this book. Tell us the name about it. Tell us the name again.
It's How to Read the Bible Like a Human Being.
Okay. I
There's a
love
book,
that.
and then there's 4 workbooks and study guides for doing
Oh my
your own
gosh.
study with it.
So could you like have you ever had people kind of walk people through maybe a group together? I know
Oh
you've
yeah.
done the Bible studies, but my brain's kind of thinking out loud here. Do you
Yeah,
have a
the
lot of
workbooks
people?
and the study guides are designed so that you could do a Bible study in your church. And
Yeah.
there's a video that goes with each lesson that's shot in Israel that shows the setting where it happened. And
Mm.
yeah,
How do you access the videos? Is that something that you access through getting the
they're
book?
at the website, likeahumanbeing.com.
Like a human being. Okay. Wow, you are just so full of so much wisdom and gifts. And, obviously the Lord's put this in you to release to the world. As you are refiring, I'm calling you refiring,
Uh,
what's something that's really stretchy coming up for you, maybe in the next year that um, is beyond what you could even ask or imagine?
what's stretching me?
Mhm.
I'm not I'm not looking for things to do.
Hmm.
Um,
Doesn't
I'm
have to be something that you do.
yeah, I'm learning. I mean, the stretching thing is learning how to get old.
Okay.
Um, I have serious back issues right now.
Okay.
Um, my pastor says, yeah, it only hurts when you age.
It only hurts when you're age. Well, I must be aging too then.
Yeah.
I think we're all aging. Oh my
But
gosh.
I think I always thought that I'd work as hard as I could as long as I could.
Hmm.
And Jesus said no.
Hmm.
And so I think there's something important in, um, how do I say this? I'm coaching this gal, and she's
Hmm.
done great things in her life, um, and is well known. But
Hmm.
it's it's like some of the things she were doing got shut down, no fault of
Hmm.
her own.
Sure.
And she's like, what do I do with this? And I'm
Mm.
talking to her, and I said, what if if instead of you working hard for the rest of your life, what if God is saying, I so appreciate all that you've done for me and what you've contributed, and I want to take the rest of your life to bless you.
Oh.
Um, But there's a
Yeah.
God who is like that. And if we don't allow him to be like that,
Mhm.
we're squelching a revelation of who God is. And I think there's a thing for people, not everybody, but
Mhm.
I think there's a thing that we have to model
Mhm.
in our later years about the goodness of God and who he really is.
Yeah.
That's my challenge right now is to understand that and learn that and incarnate
Mhm.
that.
It's
Um,
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I had one more question, if you don't mind me
okay.
asking. So you, I went through a journey of learning how to walk again because my life until about 2017, actually, when I finished coaching school, my dad passed away. And
Mm,
one of the last things my dad said to me was, "Don't work so hard, it'll end up like me." And I really
wow.
took that to heart. I ended up getting shingles, but the Lord started taking me out into nature and going for walks, different places. So it was similar to kind of what you're talking about. Um, and he would bench me, literally, like sit me on the bench, and he would just start speaking to me about different things. And then I just
Mhm.
started noticing more. I noticed eagles, like I see eagles all the time and butterflies and, different aspects of his creation. So I was curious when you expanded out to going beyond your, stepping out of your house, what things did you see or hear going, expanding out of territory? Was there anything special that he showed you?
Stepping out of my house meaning,
Yeah, when you did your normal, daily walk, but then he was like,
oh,
"Hey, there's more out here. There's like there's beauty out here beyond." Well, this is I know it sounds like kind of a random question, but I just have to know. Was he showing you more in that space? Did he sh like say more to you? Did you see more like what was the beauty that you saw and experienced?
I think for me it was more about the an internal shift that I'm not in a hurry to complete this activity so that I can go back and do something meaningful.
Okay.
That I'm going to be there in this, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to intentionally do the joyful thing that takes longer.
Mm,
Um,
that's
I
good.
started going to the gym for the first time in my life
Oh,
because exercise was one of those things that wasn't significant.
sure. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like I look forward to it. It's not like it's
Hmm.
the funnest thing in the world,
Yeah.
but it's like I'm doing things not for significance. I'm
Mm,
living, I'm being alive and not being a legacy.
wow.
Um, and
That's a
that's what
word.
it's about for me.
That's beautiful. Wow. Well, you are incredible. We'll have to have you back on when your movie comes out. Just saying, we're just
Yeah, we'll
prophesying
see.
here a little bit. Well, I would love for you to share as we close out today. I do this seed cast for the one. So if you could just get in mind this one that's listening in today, if you have any other words of encouragement or words of wisdom or knowledge that you'd want to share over this one, and then would you pray us out today?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say my life message, which is there's nothing that can happen to you that God won't make something beautiful out of.
Mm,
He doesn't cause it. He gave the world to us to steward, and we don't often
mm.
do a good job of stewarding it or each other, but he's
Mm,
constantly working to redeem.
yes,
So Romans 8:28, all things work together for good.
yes.
And there's two conditions for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And the purpose is explained in the next verse to conform you to the image of Christ.
Mhm,
So your circumstances can be something bad that happens to you,
mhm.
or it can be the thing that God uses to bring you the desire of your heart, to make you like
Mm,
Jesus, to take the long-term pain out of your life. And
mhm.
it all depends on whether you're willing to come to Jesus and stop saying, "Get me out of this pain," which is
Right.
the natural human response,
It is,
but
yeah.
say, "What are you doing in this pain?
Mm,
And if this is what I need, keep doing it.
Mhm.
Um, but I am here. I trust you in my pain to be good to
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
So good. Thank you.
So praying, Jesus.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So for these folks,
Mhm.
doing them the things that they can't do for themselves.
Yeah.
And I know that you will be gentle and kind, and we
Mhm.
look back on those things and it's not a pain, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, bless them and lead them on into the beautiful thing that you have for them.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Tony. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you? I'll be sure to add this in the show notes as well.
You can, my email address is tony at meta-formation.com.
Okay.
If you're interested in the Bible studies, there's the form on the Like a Human Being site.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Heaven book has heavenexperience.net. There's videos there
Okay.
about heaven that are free.
Mm.
Um, you can sign up to get free books sent to you if you've read the book and loved it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's all there.
Okay.
Um, likeahumanbeing.com has the Bible study
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So those are some of the
Perfect. Well, I'll be sure to add to the show notes. Please grab his books. I just love your heart. Just even, somebody who gets a book, there's a form you can fill out, and then you can, um, buy for yourself, but give them away. That is
right.
so generous and beautiful. That is so from the heart of the Father, right? And a good idea from him, I'm imagining. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a brave voice who's setting many free. And I will be back with another episode next week. Actually, I almost forgot. I need to close with my anchoring verse for this podcast. It's May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you may abound in hope. And that's Romans 15:13. So thank you, listeners. Have a great day. Bye bye.